Just thought I'd do a quick video. Look, being part of the Yellow Vest movement, obviously not a senior in the movement, there are a lot of things that we can't fix because we can't fix democracy, and our votes are not really of a lot of value at the moment. And I've talked about that a few times. So I thought I'd just update people on an interesting finding today, yesterday actually. Over the years, I've been well published on the application of fluoride in the water in Australia and around the world. And we know that in the last decade since I wrote those articles, most of the countries have pulled out and are no longer adding fluoride to their water. A lot of court cases in the US where the lawyers managed to prove that it was a deadly poison and therefore shouldn't have been in the water and couldn't be proved safe. Obviously, there's some people out there, and I know that some of the doctors and some of the dentists would disapprove of what I have to say, and I'm not actually here to bag fluoride. Personally, I don't like the idea of it being in the water because of what it is and what it can do. But I thought it interesting to sort of understand the amount of fluoride that's put in the water. And just after I had put a fair bit of work into studying and writing articles about fluoride. Oh, there's somewhere to sit. How cool. Do work on fluoride. I noticed that the European Union did a rather big study on fluoride in water. In the most, they opted to remove fluoride in most of the countries. Those that didn't looked at what the safe levels were. That's a terrible place to sit. And the safe levels were considered 0.6%. And so one would hope that if that's what they consider the safe levels, that's what we'd be adopting in Australia. When I did my overviews many years ago, it wasn't possible to find out how much was being put in the water in Australia. And that was a bit of a bother. And we guessed at the time that it'd be about 0.8, 0.9 parts per litre. And that wouldn't have been, I suppose, so bad. It's interesting that no one publishes anywhere how much it is. And I was just about to replace my water source this week, and I looked at quite a few options, and we get water delivered, and that's meant to be a spring water, and we were looking at a filtration system for hot and cold water in the house that was much cheaper. And it was interesting, I decided I'd look into how much fluoride is in the bottled water, if any at all, and how much would be in the mains water, and whether we could remove that with filtration. And I inadvertently rang up the health department because it said on their page that they put the correct amount in. And I said, well, what is the correct amount? I'd like to know what you consider the correct amount. And their decision on what the correct amount was 1.4. Now, of course, 1.4 is actually considered dangerous around the rest of the world in terms of an amount that you'd put into your water, your mains water, your potable water for people to drink. And I started to keep chatting with the guy from SA Water, who seemed like a nice guy, about water sources in South Australia across the board. He said that some of the water sources had as high as 4.1. Now, I don't know if you guys out there have done any study on this, but 4.1 is actually dangerous, really, really dangerous. It can include not only the things that are debatable, like your pineal gland and your mental health and things like that, but also dental fluorosis and structural fluorosis, which is your bones. It's actually very dangerous, and they were now looking at putting recommendations in some areas in South Australia that you shouldn't drink the water because of the amount of fluoride in there, and that's a kind of terrifying thought. What made it really interesting was I said, well, how are we going with those sorts of rates with dental fluorosis, which is mottling of your teeth? And I brought up the fact that a lot of English people have got dental fluorosis, and he said that, well, what they're doing now is talking to the dentists and looking at the manufacturers to make sure that the amount of fluoride in toothpaste is reduced, and that will help stop the problem. Now, the thing that these guys don't seem to get is that first of all, we have toothpaste, and we're a pretty educated people, and we can use toothpaste as a topical application of fluoride if fluoride supposedly is so good for us. This is a guy talking about fluoride that's smoking, you know. Need to keep my teeth clean. But anyway, I don't use fluoride, and I don't drink fluoride too if I can avoid it. But you may opt to do that, and you might like to know how much is in there. The other interesting thing was that the bottled water we're being delivered that says spring water from Healthy Springs, it actually isn't from springs. I made some inquiries. It's from aquifers, and a lot of those aquifers are tainted. Some of those aquifers contain more fluoride than is safe. And the bottled water I use, I phoned and asked, and they said they weren't really sure. They did no testing. So the first time I rang them, they said there was no fluoride in their water. And when I decided to ring them back and ask if there was, they decided there wasn't much at all. And then finally, when I asked for an exact amount from testing, they said they weren't sure at all. They did no testing. So the bottled water in the most in South Australia is also fluorided, had fluoride added. These aren't naturally occurring fluorides always either. Some of these fluorides are imported from overseas, places like China, where testing on it showing all sorts of other heavy metals, leads, things like that. So, you know, when we talk about clean potable water and the concept of medicating us as a people, these sorts of things should be openly debated. Of course, kind of waste time in it. I mean, really, we get no say anymore. The electoral system doesn't give us a say on who gets in, and when Parliament get in, they kind of do whatever they like, and with very little respect for what we ask or do. And that's why I'm with the Yellow Vest movement to try and change that, to re-empower people to, one, find out this sorts of information freely and easily, and also, if they're not happy about it, to be able to do something about it. And that's why I thought I'd have this quick chat, just wandering around my yard, because I'm a bit concerned. If you medicate water, you have a few problems, because you don't know how much someone will drink. So obviously the poorer people drink more water, the people in the outback communities will drink more water. If the fluoride levels out there are so dangerous, it might be considerably unsafe for them to drink that much water. In most countries they're taking it out, yet we're adding it in, and we're adding it, you know, fairly high rates. The other problem really is that they're talking about when you pick up your toothpaste, which is, you know, fairly high in fluoride, you expect to spit that out. But of course, when you're drinking water in the shower or anything else, you're absorbing fluoride. And I don't know that everybody likes that idea. I mean, that's up to you guys. I mean, you can go and drink from the tap if you like. I mean, it may be all you can afford. But if you are drinking from the tap, then you've got to watch how much fluoride you use when you're brushing your teeth, and make sure you don't actually swallow that. But where this becomes dangerous is our children, because children are more susceptible to dental fluorosis, whether that be of the teeth, mottling of the teeth, or problems with their bones, either young or later in life, and also pineal gland and all sorts of things. So I think everyone needs to do a little bit of study on fluoride and be very, very concerned for our children. It may be advisable, if your children are drinking a lot of tap water, to actually get them a non-fluoride toothpaste, just for good luck, because kids may swallow that. That was the advice from the SA Health here, to watch how much your children use in terms of fluoride. And I think this is something we all should be able to debate. Of course, if we debate these things, we get called names. I'll be what will I be? A fluoride denier or something in a moment, or an anti-clean teeth person or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, right now in SA, our water is fluoride at 1.4 is what they're telling us. They have to monitor that regularly, because it goes up higher, and in some places it's 4.1. If you do a little bit of research, that's actually ridiculous, absolutely insanely ridiculous, and it should be down to a safe level that the EU came up with, which was, I think, 0.6, 0.7, no more than that. And to be totally honest, I don't think you should consume any of it. If you look at what it actually is, it's basically a deadly poison, a really, really deadly poison. A teaspoon of fluoride will kill you instantly, just about. And so obviously when you water it down, it becomes more safe. But how much do you water it down? How much are our children getting? How much is in our water? And if we all disagree, and said, if we all disagree with being there, and we all wanted to get together and get it out of the water, well, there's no one to listen to us, is there, really? The politicians have no bloody idea. They don't do any research. They then just ask the experts, and the experts come back to them and tell them what they've been telling them for years, which is, oh, it's great, it stops tooth decay, dental caries as they call it. So there you go, there's my quick video. It's gone for 9 minutes, so you're probably already turned off and don't want to hear anymore. But I'd suggest you consider these things very, very carefully. And with our children, precisely, maybe get them off the fluoride toothpaste. Make sure you still teach them to spit it out, and just watch how much water they're drinking, and consider some sort of filtration system that will remove fluoride. And if you do remove the fluoride, then of course you could probably ask them to go back to brushing their teeth with fluoride. But anyway, something that we get no power over, something that's happening in South Australia, and finally we have a few figures and facts. Thank you.